One of the things I found most impressive after watching Superman is that the movie stayed with me long after the session ended. Hours and hours later, I was still excited, thrilled, whether it was the soundtrack stuck in my head, the visuals, some well-placed jokes, or whatever. Part of a new phase of superhero movies on the big screen, instead of telling an origin story, the film questions, okay, you've been a superhero for a few years now. But what happens next? And with Superman, this happens in the most impactful way possible. The beginning of the story brings not only a well-written opening text, but also something unusual, a superhero who just got beaten up badly. That alone caught the attention of regular people at the theater. The man sitting next to me said out loud, "Wow, how cool, the movie starts with the hero losing." Many used to say it wasn't possible to make a good movie about Superman, or that he was simply too difficult a character to work with, because he was supposedly perfect, almost like a god. But what James Gunn proved is that Superman is only a challenge for people who don't know how to tell stories, or don't really understand who this character is. Because Superman is, in fact, just a regular citizen. A young man trying to live his life and, like many young people, trying to change the world by doing something good and meaningful, but who ends up running into the same thing we all inevitably face in life: reality. Because deep down, it seems like all of us want to do something we believe is the right thing. The main antagonist of the film, Lex Luthor, tries to destroy Superman because he still wants to see, in himself and, according to him, in the human race, at least some small capacity to achieve something great. He represents the powerful who can't stand to see anything greater than themselves, and who want to dominate, control, and hold power over everything around them. At the height of arrogance, he thinks only of himself, sees himself as superior in every way, and treats everyone else as mere servants or pieces in his game board, even an entire country, ruled by one of his puppets. While the robots in the Fortress of Solitude show us that technology can be integrated into our lives and used as a powerful ally, in Luthor's hands, it can be twisted and even attract lost people who follow his example and truly believe they can build some kind of utopian tech-based republic behind a screen, just pressing a few buttons, hiding from reality. Due to Lex Luthor's actions, Superman is called to question and watch completely fall apart the very thing that gave meaning to his life: his own understanding of the mission he had in this world. As often happens to all of us, Clark Kent thought he had something to do in a very specific way, but reality showed him a very different path. The revelation of Superman's biological parents' message to him makes us question: are we defined and determined by our parents, destined to inherit their legacies even if those legacies come from a dark and painful past? The answer comes from Clark's wonderful American parents, especially the sweet, emotional, soft-hearted Jonathan Kent, in a classic return to one's true roots and to one's true mentor. In one sentence, Mr. Kent tells us that,
"It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me."
Sorry, wrong movie, I guess. But let me know in the comments if you would like to see a video on Batman Begins.
Oh, really?
Now, as I was saying, your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are. And this particular theme in the movie is very interesting, because a lot has been said online about the film supposedly having some kind of ideological bias, and the writer-director himself even encouraged that discussion. But with such a traditional character, the movie can actually be seen as a big tribute to traditional Western values. It's the story of a young man who finds out his biological parents were imperialist, genocidal members of a race that preached domination over other peoples and believed men could have harems. Meanwhile, he was raised on a small farm in the middle of the United States, with the traditional values of Western civilization: service, love, community, brotherhood, and the common good. This simple, inescapable structure breaks apart any real attempt at pushing a revolutionary or authoritarian bias in the final result of the film. Following the same logic, the movie, by telling the story of a young man who came from another planet, also brings up a timeless question: what is distinctively human? What makes us different from other animals or even from other planet races? James Gunn says that we are free to choose what we do and how we act. We don't have to follow the terrible footsteps of our race or our ancestors who try to impose their legacy on us. Even if we've inherited something dark, we can still choose the path of love, just like Superman did, by embracing the values of his traditional American family. And here we circle back to our antagonist. Because in his arrogance and pride, he acts as if being human is defined only by where we're born, while the movie reminds us of something else. That human dignity comes from the fact that we share the same nature. As the Superman's country once said, all men are created equal. They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we choose to see others with compassion, we can see each person in our community as a brother and a friend who might needs help.
Who are you?
A friend.
When we live that way, we experience, in our daily and ordinary life, the beautiful feeling of using our freedom to freely choose to do what is good. This love for life is one of Superman's greatest strengths. Yes, he's a regular citizen, just like every one of us, but more than that, he loves the world and life passionately. The first thing he does when a monster spits fire at him is check if everyone around him is okay. He's also compassionate, caring and tender to the woman he saves, gently placing her on a rooftop and saying a few kind words to calm her down. And when he has to face a giant monster in the city, even then, he tries to see that creature as something worthy of being studied, contemplated, and preserved, respected in its nature, and placed somewhere it can't hurt anyone. Meanwhile, the other supposedly and not yet heroes of the Justice Gang just want to destroy the creature, shoot first and only then not ask any questions. They see Superman in chains, they see wars breaking out, and still they hide behind a false sense of neutrality, as if they shouldn't intervene unless their boss sends them in. Deep down, they're completely unaware of their duties, powers, and responsibilities, and just will eliminate the enemy assigned to them, leave the scene, and go back to their corner, almost like someone who just doesn't want to be bothered by the world around them. But not Superman. Not even a little cat is allowed to die on his watch. And as if saving a cat and trying to find the good in a misunderstood monster weren't enough, Superman literally loves and tries to save his own enemies, while they came dangerously close to killing him in battle. One might ask, where does all of this come from? As James Gunn himself said, his script is inspired by Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, the classic Frank Capra movie about a young man, leader of a group of Boy Scouts, who's brought into a position of power and influence as a U.S. Senator, and tries to push forward projects focused on the common good, like creating a camp for young boys, while defending the interests of the people in his state. Admiring the honorable position of being a senator, he soon discovers countless obstacles and comes to see the flaws of the men who build and control the political system of the great American democracy, leading the story to one of the most electrifying endings in the history of cinema. Anyone who knows Frank Capra's film can easily see the connection between the two stories. After all, what is Mr. Smith if not an extraordinarily ordinary citizen, and perhaps the Clark Kent Superman of the classical golden age of cinema?
Liberty's too precious a thing to be buried in books, Miss Saunders. Men should hold it up in front of them every single day of their lives and say, I'm free to think and to speak. My ancestors couldn't, I can. And my children will.
Both are people of the people, loved by the people, focused on the common good, and simply trying to do their best to serve others, seeking to do what's right. At first glance, many would say they're both naive, and that because of that, they end up clashing with the gears of the system and the institutional corruption of the powerful and the influential elite, people who are supposed to be noble and represent the people, but who most of the time are just looking out for themselves. In that sense, these two stories reveal a drama that anyone can face today, Whether it's stopping a war and facing massive geopolitical consequences, or just trying to open a simple Boy Scout club for teenagers, we will all figure out that doing good is hard. But the truth is, the biggest barrier isn't out there in the world, but rather inside our own hearts. This is especially interesting because, as I mentioned before, a lot of people today say that Superman is boring and a hard character to write. And the movie makes the answer to that very clear. In his journey, James Gunn's Clark Kent is shown to us, from the very first minute, as someone completely well-intentioned, with a good heart. But completely vulnerable. As I was making this video, I realized I kept thinking about the movie not because of the score or the visuals or whatever, but because Superman is more than just a comic book character. He is a true symbol of hope that shows us it's worth it to look up and reach for higher things. He's not just an alien or some flying thing, and certainly not in it, but rather an ordinary human person that has friends, has to pay bills, settle arguments with his girlfriend, and 22 calls from his mom to answer. This Superman isn't just an ideal. He's not just a symbol. He's a regular, ordinary person, which means we can be him. Superman scares us and might push some people away because he challenges us. He shows what we humans can be, what we are called to be, and what we are called to choose to be. Genuinely good. And that, as I know you probably agree with me, is very challenging. It's no surprise that the people around him struggle with the same thing. It's so easy to stay stuck in the comfort zone of human mediocrity. You just have to stay where you are. We ourselves can get lost in our own lives, like the not yet superheroes who just wanted to get rid of a problem. Or like Lois Lane, closed off, unwilling to open herself to love and real human connection. Or even like Jimmy Olsen, who just uses his source to get what he needs, taking advantage of her emotional vulnerability. And that's why Superman literally faces a mechanized copy of himself in the final battle. The mechanized machine against what is genuinely human. Very often, so do we end up facing the worst version of ourselves. Every time we look in the mirror every day and see our closed off, bitter face, our selfishness, our flaws, our corruption, our dark side. But amidst everything against us, when it feels like we're about to lose the battle and give in to the easier path to benefit only ourselves, Superman is here to remind us that we can still do the right thing and choose the path of loving our neighbor. Even with all odds stacked against him, in all his anger, being crucified, chased, hunted down, and unfairly accused by the very people he defended and saved without asking for anything in return, Superman makes a choice to take risks, be open and vulnerable, to believe in and search for the good in people, seeing not just who they are now, but who they can become, even if when they can't see it in themselves.
Son, don't miss the wonders that surround you. Because every tree, every rock, every anthill, every star is filled with the wonders of nature. And he used to say to me, have you ever noticed how grateful you are to see daylight again after coming through a long, dark tunnel? Well, he'd say, always try to see life around you as if you've just come out of a tunnel.
He chooses to be genuinely good and to try to be his best version every single day, no matter what. He's going to make mistakes, but he won't give up and will keep fighting every day and in every moment of his life. Not just when he's wearing the cape, but by being super in the little things too. When he shows up at work and gets criticized by his coworkers or pressured by his boss, or in the small, seemingly insignificant moments when he drinks a glass of milk, when he greets the security guard at the entrance, or when he decides to eat breakfast for dinner. And the best part is, in the eyes of the world, that means you're gonna look like a silly and naive loser. Because we often forget that doing good doesn't mean you'll get any kind of reward in this world. In fact, Being a hero means that, in the world's eyes, you're going to look like a failure and will always be swimming upstream, constantly going against yourself, giving up your self-interest and sacrificing yourself for the common good.
Well, what do you expect me to do? An honorary stooge like me against the tailors and pains and machines and lies.
Your friend Mr. Lincoln had his tailors and pains. So did every other man who ever tried to lift his thought up off the ground. Odds against him didn't stop those men. They were fools that way. All the good that ever came into this world came from fools with faith like that. You know that, Jeff. You can't quit now. Not you.
Paradoxically, the beauty of the true hero's path is that he will inevitably be rejected by the world, but it's exactly through that rejection that he's forged, and his true character is revealed. Even with all the obstacles, even with the powerful playing their games, and our own ego constantly fighting back, we can still, and I insist on repeating this, look up and reach for higher values, and freely choose to do what is good and right. To look at others with kindness, to be vulnerable, to take risks, and to believe in the good that exists inside each person. To see not just who they are today, but who they can become. To go beyond what even they see in themselves. And yes, it is hard, because in this process, we destroy ourselves, but that's exactly why it is the right thing to do. Because, almost like magic, we only destroy what's bad and broken inside us, and what's left is just the good. It won't be easy, and there will always be obstacles, but it's worth it to love, to serve, and to do good, because goodness is diffusive and all-embracing. And don't worry if you've never heard those terms before. They basically mean that everyone around you is drawn to the example and actions of Superman. Lois Lane stops just questioning everything and running away from people to take a leap of faith into love, realizing how beautiful it is to open up and surrender yourself to another person. Jimmy now might have a shot to look past the shallow surface of the girl who helped him and realize that maybe he can actually offer her the affection and security she so desperately needs. And in doing so, perhaps discover a better version of himself too. And the not yet heroes now know that being super means leaving their comfort zone, taking risks and having no limits when it comes to serving others and choosing to do good. And because of that, now they might just be ready to become the heroes who will become the first seeds of the Justice League, a place where those who suffer under the hands of the powerful, those who have no one to defend them, can finally find real hope and see that it's still possible to believe in doing good and be happy in this world. That is what it means to be a hero. That is what it means to be a contagious and truly super symbol of hope. Because actually, if we take a real look at our lives, we'll see that every action in this world has to be filled with hope. At many points in our lives, we might feel afraid. We might imagine dark scenarios in our minds. We might think we don't have the strength or the resources to keep fighting. But if we stop and reflect, hope brings all of that together and surpasses it. Hope is the vision of the good things promised. It's the visible, concrete sign of the promise, the one that allows us to see and reach even before we've actually achieved. Hope is the break in the storm clouds, the star shining in the darkness, the sunbeam that breaks through and opens the horizon so we can finally see the possibility of the happiness we so deeply long for in our hearts. Hope makes us believe that everything is going to be all right. It inspires us, gives us the motivation and the energy to keep fulfilling our duties and pursuing our goals. It is the anchor of the soul, firm and secure. It gives us joy, even in the midst of trials. It tells us that it's worth it to keep reaching for greater and higher things. And it makes our present life, even with all its suffering, feel like a light and momentary trial that's preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. Hope draws us in. It transforms us from the inside. It makes us live differently, as if, through it, we had been given a new life. Superman reminds us that we need to be pilgrims of hope. And like a true superhero, he shows us that real, genuine hope is never just individual and definitely not selfish. It is, always, also hope for others. Or, as the hero that inspired James Gunn puts it,
Just get up off the ground. That's all I ask. Get up there with that lady that's up on top of this Capitol dome. That lady that stands for liberty. Take a look at this country through her eyes if you really want to see something. Fighting so's he can stand on his own 2 feet, free and decent, like he was created. No matter what his race, color, or creed. That's what you see. There's no place out there for graft, or greed, or lies, or compromise with human liberties. And it's not too late. Because this country is bigger than the Taylors, or you, or me, or anything else. Great principles don't get lost once they come to light. They're right here. You just have to see them again. Because I wouldn't give you 2 cents for all your fancy rules if behind them they didn't have a little bit of plain, ordinary, everyday kindness. And a little looking out for the other fella, too.
we can't fly or get too close to the sun, but we can be light in the world when we live our ordinary life like superheroes, sacrificing ourselves to kill our selfishness and choosing to do good, no matter the consequences to ourselves. We can be Superman by being hidden superheroes in our daily, ordinary life.